We are back with Coffee Talks. Been another 2 months since I last did this. Oh boy. Hello and welcome to another episode of Coffee Talks, the series that I seemingly don't do for months at a time, evidently. This episode's coffee of choice is the Mad Science Roast from Black Rifle Coffee. Please sponsor me. It's really good. It's got like a nice little chocolatey taste to it. I'm not gonna go too deep into it because I'm not an insane coffee connoisseur, even though I grind my own beans. So I'm a little bougie, but not by any insane measure. But you know how it goes. I also drink my coffee black most of the time now, and people call me a psychopath for that. And it's funny because I used to say that, whenever somebody talked about, oh, hey, my dad drinks coffee black, that kind of stuff, I would make the joke, oh, I haven't dealt with enough shit in order to drink black coffee. And I've been drinking black coffee for months now. So I guess you could say, in a way, I finally dealt with some shit. Today's video is about facing fears. The biggest fear that there is, being yourself. Something I've struggled with time and time again up until this very day. The fear of dropping the mask and showing the world who you really are. Da-da-da. It's toasty, so I gotta roll my sleeves up. Peep the flowers, though, and, the flamingo. Because Florida man. So, there are a multitude of ways that this can manifest itself, consciously or subconsciously, just like everything else that I'm going to talk about on this series. That is a phrase you're going to hear me say quite a bit. One of the ways that it does so in me is my music taste. My influences for my music taste, I should say. So, I generally have a very open music taste. Anything from 80s pop to new metal to country and the odd sea shanty here and there, as crazy as that sounds. Yeah, I dig a good sea shanty every now and then. Like, yo ho ho type shit. This is supposed to be a serious, series. And I'm just, cracking jokes, being a doofus. I don't know. You know what? I'm being me. And that's what this is about. Not being afraid to be open and be yourself. So, I don't know. I guess I'm trying to have a balance of being serious and being lighthearted. So, we're discovering that balance together. I hope you don't mind. It's going to take some time to get there. So the thing about my music taste is it's been mostly influenced by other people, which I feel like is usually how tastes develop. My dad got me into 80s rock and 2000s Eminem. My sister got me into a whole bunch of 90s rap and eventually some trap music and some EDM for a little while there. And my mom got me into rock songs that are a little bit on the softer side, like the Shinedown cover of Simple Man. So that kind of thing. So after almost 24 years on this planet and as many influences on my radio, all those things brought me to where I am. From downloading music onto my phone to having as many Pandora radio stations as it took to get me through the entirety of high school, to 4 years of Spotify playlists that I had somehow managed to craft for every single mood that there is. Got one for the fall of 2021. Got one for winter of 2020 going into 2021. I got one for a dystopian vibe kind of thing. If there is a mood For a Spotify playlist, I haven't. I have crafted it. Even though it was fun and it was nice discovering all these different types of music, it was a little bit unhealthy. Reason being, from the age of 13 until 21, I would go to sleep listening to music every single night. Like, earbuds in. 99% of the time I would keep it at like a 1 or a 2 on volume, but every now and then I'd be blasting Breaking Benjamin like full bore, just headbanging in my sleep, just let's go. It wasn't healthy. And I wasn't necessarily addicted to the music itself. I was addicted to the search of trying to recapture the feeling that I first got whenever I was introduced to that music by whoever influenced it in me. And the reason I continued that search for so long is because I didn't feel connected to myself. I would never hit the pause button to figure out who I was. And I would just look for more songs to fill that void. And that's partially because I didn't want to sit and be alone with myself, which is something everybody needs to do. And I was avoiding it for a very long time because for most of my life, that's what was kind of forced upon me. I was left alone for essentially my entire life. Not going to go into the details of it now. Like, I'm not angry, not upset. It is what it is. Life happened the way it happened. I'm not going to hold any negative feelings or any negative connotations towards it. But I was left alone all the time when I didn't want to be. And that led to a lot of unhealthy distractions, music being one of them. Multiple different ways of just constant stimulation, so I didn't have to sit with myself. So I didn't have to figure out what's going on up in here. I could just be distracted. And when you're distracted from who you are, you don't know who you are. You're running away from figuring out who you are. And that's not healthy. And that's what I was doing up until this year. I did that for the entirety of my teens and the age of 20 and 21. Most of 21. Because, birthday's in April, and I started getting my shit together when I was in the latter quarter of my 21st year. So let's go. The effect that had was I was afraid that I couldn't fit in anywhere. Because I had these certain interests that didn't necessarily go against the grain of what most people are into. They're just not very common interests. I'm not interested in many sports. I like racing. I don't really watch racing. I would rather do it. But obviously that, costs a lot of money. That's neither here nor there. But a lot of it was that I just didn't feel like I could fit in. And because I had ran away from trying to learn myself as a person, I didn't feel like a person. And in certain ways, I became an excellent actor because I crafted this persona, this mask that could fit into any and every situation that I needed to, but that ironically made me not fit into anything. I didn't fit in with anyone because I was able to fit in with anyone. Part of it stems from when I was a kid, elementary school. I went to 9 different elementary schools, so I was always the new kid on the block. And, kids are vicious, man. Like, they are just mean. They are, like, I know people are like, oh, kids, they're little angels. Nah, man, they had a devil. Not literally, but man, some kids, like, they're just ruthless, especially whenever they've grown up around each other. And then a new kid comes along that, like, nobody knows. They're just like, get him, And that was my childhood. That was the first 10 years of my life. First 10, 11 years of my life, essentially. And that had a major effect on me because I was a smart kid. Granted, I still am smart. But I was a smart kid, and I always got picked on because of that. And so something I have to catch myself on now is the fact that I would dumb myself down so that way I could avoid, like, I dumbed myself down so I could sneak through the waves of getting picked on. So that way I could fly under the radar instead of flying above it. Because when you fly above it, that's when you're an easy target. They can shoot you down. If you fly below the radar, then they never know you were there. And that's what I did. And a part of me regrets that. I always knew that there was something more inside of me, and I never let it show. And because I never let it show, I kind of never felt enough. And that's kind of something I still struggle with. I'm getting better with it. But yeah, trying to just not be seen when I feel like I should have been made me feel like I wasn't enough. It's one of those things where I knew I wasn't the underdog. You know, everybody loves the underdog story. You know, the guy that brought himself up from nothing and became champion. From the time I was a kid, I kind of felt like I was a champion, but an unsung champion in a way. You know what I mean? Not to say I'm hot shit or anything like that, but I'd always felt something good inside of me. And because I just wanted to fly under the radar and not be noticed, because I had been picked on and, you know, bullied so much, it made me feel like I wasn't deserving of feeling that greatness, that good thing inside of me. And because of that, I hid a lot of who I was. I'm generally a soft-hearted guy. You know, I hid my writings, I hid my poetry, I hid my drawings, because being soft-hearted as a man can oftentimes be viewed as weakness. But in reality, showing those softer sides can be the strongest thing that a man does. You know, any dude can go out, get built, learn how to fight, and be strong in that manner, be strong in a physical sense. Any man can do that. But it's really hard to let out everything on the inside and be strong that way. You know, it's really hard to wear your heart on your sleeve. And even if somebody tries to stab you in the heart on your sleeve, you don't let it bother you. That's a different kind of strength that I hid for a while. And I let it out here and there, and I'm learning to let it out more. But for a long time, even now, I've been very guarded when it comes to my heart. That soft side that's a part of me. Because anytime I would let somebody in, it was always met with, "Why are you so fucking weak?" You know, something like that. And nobody should have to deal with that. Granted, I am part of the belief system that, like, okay, you know, you need to thicken up your skin a little bit, which is fine, you know? Everybody should have a little bit of thickness to their skin. Nobody should be, like, acting like a paper cut is a sword wound, you know? Nobody should be acting like that. It's not a big deal. You know, toughen up a little bit. But when you are forced to build an entire castle around the parts of you that you should show the world, that's when it becomes a problem, an issue. I'm slowly trying to break down that castle brick by brick in order to build a healthier castle. Instead of protecting the soft little bits inside, I'm trying to build a castle to enhance both the strong physical bits and the strong emotional bits, and it's a balancing act. And that's what everything is about. Everything is about balance. And that also comes with a huge learning curve. A big part of all that too is, you know, I never quite had a support system. And because of that, I didn't know how to properly feel and deal with emotions, and so I bottled everything up. Which, as everybody knows, is not healthy in the slightest. And depression came around and toxic friend groups, which made everything worse. But I had a place where the mask I was putting on felt like it belonged. And so I stayed in those toxic friend groups, even though I was constantly being hurt. Uh, I stayed there because it felt like I had a place where I belonged in the slightest. I was so afraid of being my true self that I quite literally went through existential hell. And over these past couple years, but mainly these last 7, 8 months, I have clawed my way out. And it's been a fight the entire way. Just a couple years ago, I mean, even arguably a year ago, even though I was trying, anytime I looked in the mirror, I would absolutely hate what I saw. You shouldn't hate what you see in the mirror. You should love that person that you see in the mirror. This is going to sound silly, but, you love your dog, right? You love your cat. Love yourself like you would love them. A lot of the work I've done on myself is learning to be comfortable with myself, learning to love myself, and having self-respect and setting healthy boundaries. If somebody says something that strikes me the wrong way, not necessarily a trigger, but if they cross a line, I'll let them know, like, hey, let's not go there. And that is important. Setting healthy boundaries to not let people walk over you. That is a very important thing. I've been doing that more lately. I've been talking with certain friends more about, like, hey, listen, this thing you do, it's kind of shitty. It makes me feel like you don't actually care. And, this is how I feel about it. And if it's a good, healthy friendship, they will acknowledge the fact that, okay, maybe this thing they're doing isn't so great. And it's like, you communicate. That's what healthy friendships are for. And I'm also starting to do that more because part of being alone for so long in my life, I didn't know how to have friends. I only had myself. And, I didn't care about myself. I hated myself. And so I didn't know how to care about friends. I didn't know what it was like to have a support system. Unless it was, in a dire situation with somebody else who was also going through a dire situation. One of my friends, him and I hung out last night. Him and I kind of been through hell and back. He was not the greatest friend in high school. But, we've since made amends. He's apologized profusely. And, we're good. But even though he wasn't always the greatest friend, there were a lot of times where he would go out of his way to invite me to things, to make me feel included. And even though most of the time I shot down the offer, I told him, like, hey, listen, I appreciate you always trying to make me feel included. Because I feel like he knows that I never did feel included. Yeah, even though I would always shoot down his offer, it was kind of him to extend that hand anyway. And I told him that. And he said, he's always here to listen, which is something he's told me a few times before. And I'm going to allow myself to accept that offer. That's allowing myself to grow. Part of the problem with being alone for so long is you only know how to be alone. You don't know how to operate with other people as a team, with a support system or anything like that, except for maybe one, at most two people. But having an actual group of people behind you is like a group behind you to lean on is a very, very strange thing. And to have another person that's like, hey, man, if you need to talk, tell me. When I've always been that for other people, it's an odd thing for me to come to terms with. And I'm trying to get used to that because I know I have people in my life that care about me. And I'm trying to accept the fact that they do care. Kind of what I'm realizing now is I hadn't just been afraid of being myself. I was afraid of allowing myself to grow because the few times where I did have people in my life that I grew with, I was kind of ripped away from that with all the times that I moved and other things that I'm not going to get into, but y'all just witnessed a breakthrough. I'm sorry if that's really long and rambly, but I'm hoping that this can help somebody. That's the point of these videos, me sitting in front of this camera across my room with this microphone and laptop in front of me. I'm hoping my experiences can help somebody else. Because like I said last time, I don't want anybody to feel like I did. And self-isolation sucks. And I'm trying to get better about not doing it. And I guess part of it is fear of growth. You know, like I said, I'd been afraid of growing with other people because it'd been ripped away. And fear is a limiting mindset. Fear of being yourself and fear of growing with other people is limiting you from being the best version that you could possibly be. And don't set limits. Break them. And if you're afraid, then do it scared. When I made those first couple videos, I hadn't had any plans to really tell anybody about them because I was still partially afraid of what people would think. If I were doing videos like this, like, oh really, you're trying to make videos to help people? It's not gonna reach anyone. I don't give a shit. If it reaches one person, then I did my job. One person. Even if that person's me. Because I gotta do shit for me too, you know? I'm a person. And sometimes I need help. And sometimes this is self-help. Like just then, when you saw me have that breakthrough. It all comes full circle. But I had told one person initially, before I'd even made that first video, when I only had the intro, she's kind of like my soul sister in a way. And, you know, she said she was really honored that I was the only person she told, and she encouraged me to go through with it. And that gave me the confidence and the self-esteem to, like, actually put time and effort into this, you know, getting this stuff set up. And not only that, but the confidence to tell people about this. And I've told a couple more people. I've told my mom, I told my buddy, I told a couple other friends, and, you know, they support me on it. You know, granted, I haven't gone in extreme detail, but I'm just like, hey, this is an idea I have, yada yada. They're like, yeah, go for it, man. Which is so odd because that's not the reaction I expected at all. And it's odd having support from people telling me to, like, hey, yeah, go do this thing. Like, if you want to do it, then why aren't you doing it? But it's odd having support from people. And it's not something I'm used to. I guess I was always afraid of people just telling me it was a dumb idea and that it wouldn't happen. Which, again, back to that limiting mindset thing. So, but now I'm at the point in my life where if somebody does tell me that, then that's not somebody I need in my life anyway. Because if they're telling me it's a dumb idea to try to help people, then what kind of person are they? Anyway, thank you for watching this video. If you stuck around the whole way, thank you, seriously. That actually means a lot because these videos are like 20 minutes long, and it's just me sitting here talking as if I'm on a podcast, which I'm not. Although that wouldn't be a bad idea. But anyway, yeah. I'm hoping to not go multiple months without doing these, but I'm working on that. I just need to get out of my own head and actually do things. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.